Welcome everybody. Welcome to Microsoft 365 Platform Community Call. It is March 1st, 2022. So we are already in the last month of the first quarter, which is actually quite wild. Time is really moving fast within these times. Now, today we'll have the typical set of slides as the intro and a quick recap on the latest news, what has happened within the past week. Not that much has been happening because of actually partly I'm going to quickly do an insight on this one as well, as partly because of the situation within the world. There's going to be a slowness on our communication from the Microsoft side. So we don't actually want to communicate too much and make announcements because there are more important things where people need to focus as well. But then at the same time, we want to keep on actually executing these community calls regardless of the situation, because we are one big family. We are all around the world and everybody is welcome. So we will not cancel the community calls regardless of the situation within the world for now. So quick update on the latest updates, what's happening in the Microsoft 365 platform side, latest news. We're going to do a group photo for those who are willing to enable the video and do some hand waving or show a heart with hands or whatever you want to do. And then we'll move into the demo section. We'll start with Harald, talk about what's new in the profile photos APIs for Microsoft Graph. Then we move to Luca and John, and Alex is here helping as well, related on what's the latest on the SharePoint Framework. SharePoint Framework 1.14 was released quite recently, so we're going to talk about that, what's in there, and what is the next steps. And then as the last presenter, we have Sebastian talking about building Microsoft Graph Toolkit apps with React. Now, a few typical slides which we always go through in here, just to recap all of the assets which we have available. We do have two different YouTube channels. Again, in this YouTube channel, you'll see some slowness on the communications as well, again, of those previously mentioned reasons. But all of the community call recordings and all of the community calls are available from these channels, typically 24 hours after the session, after the recording, and after the after the community call. We do accept we have two of them due to historical reasons. The first one is the one where we have the official, so to say, developer guidance, and then we have the community videos channel where we have recordings and community demos and all of that. We have a lot of open source assets available across the GitHub, but as it might get really difficult to understand what are all of the repos and what are the samples which are available, we do have specific sample galleries which will make it easier to find what's relevant for you. So if you're looking into, for example, implementing something in Microsoft Teams or in SharePoint Framework, you can easily go to a specific sample gallery and find a cool samples available for you as a starting point. And if you're wondering that there's too many URLs to remember, I can't remember any of these. Luckily, there's only one of them, which is AKMS M365 PNP, which is the one URL from where you can find all of the different assets, guidance, documentation, and all of that which is available. Now, something which we always promote here as well is our Microsoft 365 Developer Program. So please sign into the Microsoft 365 Developer Program. You will get a free E5 tenant with 25 accounts, which will automatically renew in 90 days, always in 90 days sequence, as long as you use it for developer purposes. So there are certain level of detection how the tenant is being used, and as long as you do development in the tenant, it will automatically renew as part of the renew cycle. When you sign up to the program, you can also sign up for the additional email updates and other information and other updates, which will make it easier for you to stay up to date what's happening within the Microsoft 365. We also have a lot of training material available for free for you. So we have 74 training modules available under the Microsoft 365 developer platform in the Microsoft Learn area. And these are all the time getting up to date. So we're looking right now, for example, working and updating the SharePoint Framework modules and many of the other modules to up to date on the guidance. Which is a bit of an always challenge. The more often we do releases, for example, in SharePoint Framework, the more often we need to update all of the training materials, but that's part of the game as well. Now, we also have our unified Microsoft 365 sample gallery. So if you're wondering on, I can't remember which location I have to go to find all of the core samples, what Microsoft has done or what community has done, there's luckily only one URL to again remember. You go akms/m365/samples, and you will be in the sample gallery. And in here, you can easily use the text box driven search to find a relevant sample for you. This includes samples for Microsoft Viva, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Graph, SharePoint, Office, Microsoft Lists, and so on. And we're adjusting and improving this area all the time. Now, if you're wondering on how would I actually get started then with any of the samples, or how do I actually get started on this community areas, luckily we do have a program for that as well, and I will throw it to David.
Thank you, Vesa. Yeah, absolutely. As mentioned, we have a number of resources available to you, and we'd love for you to take advantage of using them, jumpstart your M365 tenancy with all of these resources, and contribute back. But we understand that there may be some hurdles involved with doing so. As Vesa mentioned, this is a Sharing is Caring program, which is set up to provide you hands-on guidance, not just videos and blogs for you to go read and try to figure out on your own. Nope, we are going to guide you through together as a community on how to accomplish a number of these session topics. So first-time contributor, never contributed to GitHub, no problem. We're going to do it together. If you'd like to submit community docs or set up your SPFX workstation, start learning more about VS Code, present, all the above, we're here to help you together. So we invite you to join any of these sessions, all free of charge. We're setting up a number of new sessions for March and April. And of course, we have the ever popular AMAs, one of which is today, immediately following this call on Graph and MGT with our lovely Sebastian Levert. So just go to the Sharing is Caring site. There will be a Join Teams link if you haven't already gotten the invite. Of course, in 2 weeks is going to be PNPJS, and then we're also going to be setting up a Viva Ask Me Anything with Luca and John. So that's exciting. Be on the lookout for that. And again, please get involved. We want to help you. aka.ms/sharing is caring. Vesa, back to you.
Thank you, David. And I have to say there's a good banner on the chat related on David Warner for president. So really, really cool. So you might consider on that option. You never know what the future will bring. Now, we also do have 2 different podcasts, which we are releasing from the Microsoft side. So Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, where we have Jeremy Fake from Microsoft side and Paul Schaffelin from Add-in 365, talk about the latest on the Microsoft 365 developer platform. They typically do have a visitor here as well and talk about the different aspects. And then we have our Microsoft 365 BMP Weekly podcast, and that's hosted by me and Waldek Mastercards. Waldek is a cloud advocate from the Microsoft 365 Cloud Advocates site, and where we also have a visitor on a weekly basis. We talk about different aspects of the platform, where the persons are coming from, what are their career paths, and all of that. So the latest BMP Weekly was released today, and we have Aika Bas from Waldek's team. So we talked with Aika and her career path. How did she get to be working in Microsoft, and all of the tips and the tricks related on the work, what she is doing. Now, on the news side of the house, we didn't have a significant amount of news, as I kind of implied already when we started the discussion today, but we do have a few different updates on the Microsoft Teams side more. So on the developer blog post side, we had the announcing new permissions for Microsoft Teams chats and tags and APIs. And this is a really good, cool announcement from Nick Kramer related on the fact that we will have an easier way to actually grant resource-specific consent permissions to a specific objects within a team and channels and in a team's team level, which is really, really cool. So now you can actually then grant permissions for the APIs to access chats and tags directly in the team channel. There was also 2 new articles with on the Microsoft Teams blog related on what's new in the Microsoft Teams February 2022 edition. And this is a great monthly summary, which is walking through all of the different updates, what has happened within the Microsoft Teams product level and in the service level. So really cool summary, just summarizing all of the new features which are available. And then we did have the best practices for successful large meetings in Microsoft Teams, which covers through different settings and options, how would you be able to execute similar kind of calls as, for example, like this one. So how to control to attendee permissions and what are the different options and configuration settings which are available. So really cool blog post as well. Now, mentioning about Aika Bas, she is hosting a new weekly video series, which is around Learn from the Community. And this was one of the topics in this week's PMP Weekly podcast. And basically, she is releasing a weekly video where she's visiting always or having visitors to talk about the things what they built within the Microsoft 365 platform. And this week they had Amantika Mitra, Somelese Diko, and Anshi Mishra talking about the low-code Q&A bot for Microsoft Teams, which helps communities to provide better onboarding process. So that's a real life scenario which they built for their deployment, and they talk about why it was done, how it was done, what does work and what does not work. Now, really cool thing about this initiative is also that if you have a story which you want to share and be a visitor for ICA, you can actually sign up for this as well. So that address for signing up would be akms/share-your-story, and from there you can sign up to the form, and then she will then contact you on the interview. Now, before we go to the demos of this week, let's actually do a together mode picture, and it's up to you if you want to do this, and if you want to join on the picture, I will flip us to the together mode, and I will click the recording already on, but I will get you on the screen in a second, and then we'll clip a GIF animation out of that as well. One second, I can see that things are working. I will flip the scene and move you in here. So we do have 50 seats. That's the maximum 50 seats in the room. Let's wait a few more seconds, 20 seconds or to get people visible. I will actually enable my camera as well. Did I got there already? Not yet, not yet. Oh, there I am. I guess we're filling in one more row, and one more few seconds still. Not yet, not yet, not yet. Let's do some hand waving. Okay, let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining on the call. Thank you for being part of the community. Thank you, thank you. And we, as said, we will keep on executing the community calls because it's super important that we have something which repeats and happens every single week, regardless of the situation within the world. And we are here together. Everybody can join on these calls. Thank you, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. Good. Then it's time to actually go to the demos of today and the topics of today. So we'll start with Harald Livegaard, then go to Luca and John, and Alex is doing a demo as well, and then as Sebastian as the final topic of today. But Harald, I saw you on the call, and we can start from there.
Yes, let's just share my screen.
We can see the screen, all good, so take it away. Thank you.
Yeah. So hi, I am Harald Livegaard, an engineer in the People Platform Group, and I'm excited to talk to you today about user profile photos. First, user profile photos are important. They are like ambassadors that represent who we are and influence how others perceive us. They appear in nearly all applications and bring life to experiences. Today, I first want to quickly go over one of the major problems we are going to solve, and the role MS Graph is intended to play in solving it. And next, talk about some recent improvements that have been made in MS Graph in the user profile photo space. So there is a number of different photo sources that come into play for a single user. And between some of the sources, there are sync mechanisms as well. On top of that, there are multiple photo APIs in use, which use one or more of the photo sources. Even APIs that are documented to have already been deprecated. As a result of multiple APIs being used, there is incoherence. Users sometimes see different photos of themselves and others across multiple experiences in M365, and sometimes even within the same application. Sometimes old photos appear instead of new ones. Other times, old photos appear even when a user or tenant admin has taken actions to remove them. This can even be harmful for the users. As an example, for Adele here, the same photo is seen in Teams, in her Me Control, in Live Persona Card, and Outlook. But SharePoint shows a different old photo. Such inconsistencies is something Microsoft is dedicated to fix, to provide consistent user profile photos within M365. So what does the user profile photo incoherence problem have to do with MS Graph? Well, for those not, MS Graph plays a key role in the strategy to solve user profile photo incoherence. To be the one endpoint to use, both for first-party applications and third-party applications, for both enterprise and MSA user profile photos. And when I say MSA, I mean Microsoft Service Accounts, also known as consumer, such as Outlook.com, Hotmail.com, And what are the benefits we'll get? We'll get a single source of truth and coherence. We'll get a unified programming model. Clients get built-in graph functionality for free, such as batching, PowerShell, SDK, and so forth. And we can eventually actually deprecate and take down all the other photo APIs. For those not familiar with the user profile photo endpoint, here's what a typical request look like. These are among the most popular, most frequently used requests made in MS Graph. Now, let's talk about some recent improvements we've made. When it comes to improvements that have been made recently, several of those affect the incoherence problem. There is an ongoing internal campaign to ensure that all internal applications move to MS Graph for photo operations. Already a number of partners have moved, and the effort continues. As such, user profile photo incoherence has already been reduced. Another important improvement that affects the goal of moving all photo traffic to MS Graph is that support for MSA user profile photos has been enabled in MS Graph v1. It has been available in beta for a while, and multiple improvements have been made, especially when it comes to reducing latency. This means that for the first time, MS Graph v1 supports both enterprise and consumer user profile photos. And obviously, such support is required to have all applications move to MS Graph, also for consumer scenarios. It is worth noting, however, that third-party applications do not have access to the user read-all scope, so supported photo requests for third-party applications are limited to retrieving and updating your own user profile photo. There has also been a few more functional improvements. One such is that we allow uploading larger photos, and on retrieval, the default behavior is to return the photo in the uploaded size. As such, clients can get more high-definition photos, as seen in this example, where earlier only a predefined set of photo sizes were available for retrieval and none larger than 648 by 648. And as you can see here, the height and width is larger. Still, for backward compatibility, we still support retrieval of those predefined photo sizes. Another functional improvement is that e-tags are returned in weak e-tag format rather than strong, as seen with the W/ prefix. Now, weak e-tags indicate that content is semantically the same, not byte for byte identical as strong e-tags. For user profile photo requests, it does make sense that the same weak e-tag is returned no matter what size of the photo is requested, and is only changed when the actual photo content is updated. Related to e-tag, another basic functionality improvement is that support has been added for if non-match request header. So when used on a get, a 200 status is returned only if it doesn't have an e-tag matching the given ones. If e-tag matches, a 304 not modified is returned without the actual photo resource, as seen in this example. Now, let me just quickly show that you can try this out yourself in Graph Explorer. Here I've logged in on a test tenant enterprise as Adele Vance. And there are three types of photo requests that can be made. One is the me photo value. The two other requests are you can either use the ID or you can use the user principal name. Now let's look up another user. Now here is an example of a large photo that was not previously supported. If you only request photo and not value, you can look at the dimensions 692 by 1038. What you can also immediately see is the weak e-tag. So let's look at it. Ends with 515C And what happens if I request a smaller photo? Smaller photo is returned while e-tag remains the same. Let me also just quickly show the new support for if non-match. As expected, we get the 304 not modified. Let me just also show that in this example, I've logged in with the Outlook account. And the behavior seen there is exactly the same. Weak e-tags, same support for if non-match. And as I mentioned, this is the first time we have support for consumer profile photos on MS Graph v1. So to summarize, Microsoft is dedicated to fix the user profile photo incoherence problem, and we are making heavy investments on MS Graph to fix incoherence and to be the one API to use for user profile photos across M365 for both first-party and third-party applications for both enterprise and MSA user profile photos. So some next steps. We will continue our efforts to move more partners to MS Graph for retrieving and updating user profile photos. Another thing is that it still remains to roll out the recent improvements to MS Graph government cloud environments. But there are further opportunities. We hope that the bet on MS Graph will allow faster innovation through one endpoint, and much more improvements in the user profile photo space, including enabling richer self-expression experiences. We love to get feedback, GitHub Graph community. Let us know what you look forward to have on Graph related to user profile photos. Thank you.
Excellent, really cool stuff, Harald. Awesome stuff. So the fact that you can get the resized images directly from Graph is brilliant. Really cool. Good. Let's jump on Luca and John. And Luca, I guess you will start sharing your screen and we'll move from there.
Guys, thank you very much for having us. John, Sid, Alex, and I, we are the gang that is behind SharePoint Framework and adaptive card extensions and Viva connections. For people that don't know what SharePoint Framework is, basically a way for extend Microsoft 365 canvases using leading technologies like JavaScript and TypeScript and hosting your solution in Microsoft 365. We started this journey as a way to extend SharePoint pages with web parts and extensions. And the more our product grew, the more we were able to target additional canvases. We then worked with Microsoft Teams as personal apps and Teams tabs. And recently, we are now working with Viva Connection dashboard and the ability to use SharePoint Framework to build card and quick view using basically the same technology. So this is kind of the evolution of SharePoint Framework. This slide is interesting because now you can see that you can use a single technology and potentially a single solution. And by basically simply tweaking the manifest and building your logic, you can target all of these canvases with one single package, one single code base.
I think adding to what Luca is saying, for folks unfamiliar with SharePoint Framework, it really enables you to use, again, industry standard tooling to be able to host and run your code from SharePoint and targeting all of our different experiences like Teams, connections, and SharePoint. And you don't have to be a SharePoint expert, which is nothing wrong with that. But basically, the entry point of starting adopting SharePoint Framework is just like it. As long as you can work with any web API, is basically you can work with SharePoint Framework. So as Vesa was saying at the beginning of the call, we recently released 1.14. 1.14 provided some kind of new functionalities and capabilities, specifically around some of the issues that we fixed very recently on GitHub. You can see the list on the link provided below. And then we had some kind of important updates on web parts and list view command sets.
most importantly, we also added a new template based for the ability to, when you do a scaffolding with Yeoman, with first off, had a cleaner experience. We are asking less questions. We are being more streamlined. And then we are also providing some kind of new updates and templates for being able to surface in other canvas than SharePoint. So for example, for Teams, and being able to integrate better with Teams. So that's what happened in 1.14. We also have some kind of beta features and capabilities over there. They do not show up in 1.14 release because now we have this new way of release updates on SharePoint Framework, where every time we release something in GA, we are also releasing something on as a beta functionalities and capabilities. So if you go to the next slide, there is a question around the React. In 1.15, we are doing some kind of work to be able to have some new functionalities and capabilities. So as a 1.15 beta release, which is coming very, very soon, you will have the beta functionalities that were available in 1.14 beta. So you will have card view caching for adaptive card extensions. You will have the ability to use the new media and geolocation capabilities. Some of these things will surface in demo today. You will be able to have a new error handle method to be able to have a better error management and error experience in your card when you're developing your card for Viva Connection dashboard. And then as we are progressing in new beta releases and we are going close to GA, we will start introducing new capabilities that will surface in 1.15. So the first thing that we are going to work with is the ability to have isolated functionalities and capabilities in cards, similar to what we have with WebPart today. You will be able to have isolated adaptive card extensions that will give you the ability to target specific APIs that require extra amount of security or extra amount of elevated access. Elevated is the wrong word because you're not elevating, but extra access considered to everything else. You will be able to do that in a protected way, meaning that everything else will not be able to have access to the same kind of scopes. We will then move to GA the caching, and hopefully we want to move to the GA also the geolocation and media. We will also do some kind of tweaks on the Teams integration. One of the things that we are doing in Teams today, we are not using the ONB Alpha flow on Teams Web. So we are normalizing that experience so that everything that will surface around Teams will use the same flow in terms of gathering tokens to access APIs. We are going also to do some kind of new extensions for list and library forms. Alex is going to demo that very soon, so I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to do any spoiler alerts. And then
I'm not demoing today.
No,
I'm not demoing today.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. I thought it was.
But no, he's demoing something else. But like Luca's saying, it's coming. I think that answers Russell's question in the chat as well.
Right. Okay. Sorry, my bad. Not too much coffee yet. Then we are aligning on the libraries capability and availability. We are aligning on Graph SDK 3, TypeScript v4, not 16, and we are adopting the SDK version 11 of Teams SDK. And then one of the things that we are working, another small things but important things that we want to do is to align the API registration to the app acquisition flow. What I mean by that is that today, when you are installing an SPFX component that requires an API that is not registered to the tenant, let's say a multi-tenant API, you need to do manually an extra step to do that. We are streamlining that capability by being able to register the service principal of a multi-tenant API when you deploy the package, so that now you don't have to do anything else. And we are aligning to what the Teams experience also is for accessing APIs in Teams. And then one of the things that we are working very, very hard is the ability to have adaptive card extensions, card view, and quick views powered by bots. The scenario here is that you already have your bot, you built your bot for Microsoft Teams, you maybe wanted to have your adaptive card powered bots for Teams tabs, and you also want to use the same capabilities and technology in Viva. So one of the things that we are doing, we are extending and adopting that model by using adaptive card universal actions and being able to have bots that can basically speak Viva and being able to have these bots sending information to the dashboard and basically building card views and quick views. There is no commitment on when we are planning to ship the feature. Trust us, guys, we're working very, very hard to do that. But just like anything that is connected with multiple components, it's hard. but we're working on that.
Yeah, I think to kind of add based off of the roadmap you can see here is that, we started the journey with 1.13 where we started doing different versions of the 1.13 or the SPFX releases in terms of doing betas and release candidates. And so as we sort of work on these features and we think that they're ready for broader consumption, we'll have them as part of our beta releases and we'll make announcements for them. And so I encourage you all to download them, test them, use them, give us feedback. I think that's the most important part, especially when they're still in beta, to allow us to iterate. And so it's going to be a really great journey going to 1.15, and there's a lot there. So I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, so in 1.14, we were working hardly to improve the API of command sets. So previously, the API was pretty weak, and sometimes it was not exactly what developer wanted it to be, third-party developers. So we have updated list view accessor class to provide a lot of information about the current list, current view, filters, and sorting applied by the user, like the client side. We have also introduced the new list view state changed event that you can handle. It will show you previous state and what exactly was happened with the list view, so you kind of can have this information, analyze it, and react on that. And how you can react, there is a new raise and change method that you can use that allows you to asynchronously react on any update. So for example, you can, when the user clicks button, you have some logic on execute, some async logic, then you call rise and change, and that leads to updates in the list view or in your command set. And that's basically what I want to show in the demo. So let me actually try to share my screen. So here is my demo command here. As you can see, it's like a standard command. I just scaffolded it from the Yeoman. So now if I do some new item in here, the item is added, and we will wait a few seconds here. So it's a synchronous operation. And now you can see, first of all, it's disabled. This is a new property of the command, and it has been updated after 5 seconds. So basically, our command or our command set reacted asynchronously on the changes in the view. And why it's called now items changed, because we knew that basically new item has been added to this list. And from the code perspective, it's pretty simple. So in our command set, I'm using list view state changed event, and in the list state change event, a list view state change event, I'm checking the state changes if rows has been changed. I'm just adding the handler to this list view state changed event. Inside the handler, I'm checking the state changes, which is basically an enum that provides us information what exactly has been changed. And in our case, if rows has been changed, in that case, I'm adding timeout, and inside the timeout, so it's kind of asynchronous operation in that case, I'm changing the title of the command, disabled, and then I'm calling this raise and change, and basically after 5 seconds, our command is changing in the toolbar, which is pretty exciting, I believe. And that's the demo. Luca, back to you.
Thanks, Alex. That was awesome. Sid, would you like to demo the next thing? No spoilers.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, John. So folks, today I'm gonna be demoing the select media capabilities in mobile. So just let me quickly share my screen. And so there is this new action, which we call the Viva action.select media, which provides media capabilities on your adaptive card extensions. So here, as you can see, there is this, I'm actually projecting my phone onto the screen, and here we have come up with a mock-up card for media upload. And I'm just going to tap onto it and quickly show you what happens. So this is a mock-up card that has been created. So when you open it, we have hooked the Viva action.select media capability on this upload button. So as soon as you click it, it opens your camera on your phone, and you can click any photo of your choice. And then you can do any sort of image transformations on top of it. if you want to, and then press done, and that will automatically show up on the card. And this, like, what happens is that when you submit it, the image and all the payload is passed to the on action handler, and then the third party developer can figure out what they want to do. So in this case, the third party dev took the name, the file size, and the thumbnail and presented it back onto the card itself. You can add multiple images. So the previous one, I took a photo. In the next, I can actually pick up something from the image gallery. So here I have a receipt that I want to upload. I can do that. And the same can be seen over here. If I want, I can remove individual images. And just for the purpose of this card, we have kind of exposed these settings, but you can decide whether you want to, what is the maximum file size that you want your users to upload, or whether you want them to upload multiple file images or not. But let's say that you reduce it down to, say, 102 bytes, and you save the setting and you go back. Then in that particular case, the size of this image that I had already shared was way too large than 102. In that particular case, the on error callback gets invoked that the third party developer can latch onto, and then they can show the appropriate message saying that the file size is too large. So yeah, those were the capabilities that we are trying to provide as part of the select media action. Yeah, that's my demo.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid. I'm also super excited to say that, this was previously only available on desktop in the previous 1.14 beta releases. But as of this week, or as of this call, it's now available to be used within mobile worldwide as part of the beta. And so you can start playing around with that functionality today with the Viva Connections Mobile.
Yep.
Excellent. Thanks, John. And I want to recap just the use case because I'm going to show my phone in here. Again, if you think about the Viva Connection Mobile, it is your company's own portal, mobile portal. And for there, you can then include these ACE cards. And in those ACE cards, you can now start operating with the actual device. And that's really the idea here. So those people who, let's say, take screenshots out of the let's say inventory on the shops and all of that, they can easily access that directly from the ACE, directly from the company mobile portal, which is available in the mobile, and then they can access information like the cameras and location and all of that stuff in the future. So that's where all of that is coming from. Now,
and just to add on to what Vesa just said, like, I mean, another use case would be just to upload your vaccination cards, right? Like now that we are moving, all of us are gradually moving into our offices, we are asked to share our vaccination reports. So the same thing could be used over there and for many other frontline worker scenarios.
So rather than being forced to implement your full independent mobile application, you implement that mobile experience using SPFX, and then it will be rendered in the mobile Viva connection. So, and sure, for those in this call who are super familiar with Power Apps, yes, you can do similar kind of things with Power Apps, but then Power Apps are not, it's low code, no code, rather than SPFX, which is pro developer code implementation. So you can access more efficiently other areas as well. But again, matter of opinion, matter of requirements, which implementation style always the customers take. We in SPFX side, we of course promote SPFX model, but it depends on a customer case, right? But I guess, John, Luca, just double checking, I guess we went through all of the topics and we can jump on Seb. I can see Alex nodding. Excellent, thank you, cool. Seb, you are the last one of today. So let's jump on then on your screen on the Microsoft Graph Toolkit series. Really, really cool.
I guess you can see it now, right?
Yep, take it away.
Awesome. Well, folks, we are now at week 11 of doing a grand tour of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. For the next couple of sessions, we will be looking at how you can integrate a toolkit in some of the frameworks that you might already be using. Today, we're going to start with how can we build apps using MGT, but with React. Since the beginning, we've been using plain HTML to showcase the versatility of the Graph Toolkit. But sometimes your framework of choice might be something else than just plain HTML. And you know how in some of these frameworks, it might be difficult to actually leverage native HTML elements and custom elements that web components are providing. So today, our focus will really be about React and what does it mean for you to utilize the Graph Toolkit within a React app. So as a reminder, what is the Microsoft Graph Toolkit? The toolkit is a collection of reusable framework agnostic components and auth providers that let you access and work with the Microsoft Graph. So it is a set of fully functional components that are ready-made, that are drop-in components you can use in your apps that requires basically very, very, very few lines of code where you can build customizable experiences and that work with any frameworks. And today will be a great example of this because we're going to use it with React. It also works on any modern browsers today. Why would you care about the Graph Toolkit? Well, first, it helps you cut on development time. You can easily add UI components to Access Graph to your app with just a few lines of code. We could even probably make it a single line of code, a very long single line, but it could be possible to do it in just one line. It's beautiful, but it's flexible. It is built to look like an M365 experience, but it's still fully customizable. So if you want to bring your own brand inside these components, it's absolutely possible. It's up to you to make it happen. And finally, it just works everywhere. You want to work in Teams, you want to work in SharePoint, you want to work in your own single page application, or even you want to host it within Electron, well, it's up to you. You do whatever you want. It works everywhere on every single browser. MGT loves React. And not only it's something that we see, but it's something that we're hearing a lot from the community. 18 months ago, we launched our React wrappers for MGT, and we have seen huge uptake on MGT and React together. What does it mean? It means that it's so easy to get it started that I'm not going to even go through how to set up a React project or whatsoever. I'm just going to show you the 3 common lines you should be using, and that is it. Afterwards, we're going to jump into code. So first, when you're thinking about creating an app, well, one of the ways I really like to create apps is to use the Create React app set of functionality. So you just create an app that you would create an app for any of your React apps, or you can even just leverage an existing app that has already been created. In our case, we love to use TypeScript, but you can also use plain JavaScript here, absolutely. You install at Microsoft/MGT React, which will bring all the capabilities from MGT as React components. Then afterwards, you install your favorite provider. So if you want to use MSAL provider, you might want to use a Teams provider. We're going to see that in a future example. Well, these will allow you to be ready to get started. That's the only thing you need to add to your project to get access to MGT. So let me go straight into code and let's show the demo. So the first thing that I want to mention is that the root of your project, which is usually an index.js or an index.ts in my case, is where you want to do the setup for everything regarding authentication. You want to make sure that the auth is all prepared for all the components that will actually use the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. So how do we do that? In previous demos, you were adding a component to a page that was called the MGT MSAL2 provider, where we're setting up some of the scope, some of the IDs. Here, we're going to do it through code because we don't want just to drag a component. That would not really work in a React world. It's not really how React works. So how do we do it? Well, we are creating a new MSAL2 provider that is coming from our MGT MSAL2 provider package. And we're assigning it a couple of properties. The first one being the client ID. The client ID that could either here be hard-coded or be part of your environment variables that you would be using with React. And then a series of scopes. These scopes are the different scopes that you want to use in your application. Here, I'm predefining these scopes, but if you want, you can also leverage a very, very minimal set of scopes here and have the dynamic consent or incremental consent to pop up when you're using capabilities, when you're going deeper into your application. So let's say you want to use files in a specific area of your app, you could ask for that scope at that moment and not beforehand. So in my index.ts, that's the only thing I have to do. It's going to set up everything we need from an authentication standpoint. It's going to know what's over there. Our app is already pre-configured. Our Azure AD app is already pre-configured with basically just the URL back to this local host that I'm using here, localhost 2000, and that's it. So now your app is ready to be used, is pre-configured with MGT. And now what we're going to do is we're going to import some of these components from MGT to leverage them in our application. Our app here, we'll start with this here. We will be providing a login component. And this login component is a React component. It's fully, entirely rich. It has all the capabilities that you need from a React standpoint. So if you want to add some of these properties, you're going to be able to leverage our autocomplete right there. You can see everything that is here, all of the different properties that are available. You can even go to aka.ms/mgt/docs, where you can find all the components that we have, for example, the login component, and you want to see all the different properties. Well, you're going to see them here. Well, in our case, we don't have a lot of properties here on the login component where there's basically only the user details. But here you see the attribute will be for plain HTML, and the property will be the one to be used with React. So very simple way of documenting. Everything is in a single place, super easy to get that going. And now when I do the login, automatically, and I can actually, let me just remove all of this so we don't have to see it happening. And now when I refresh, I just see my component right here, and I see the component showing up right in here. Nothing to change, it just logs you in. In my case, I was already logged in. I was already consented to my app. But besides that, it's the same component that was used when we were using the HTML components. Now we're using the full on React components. And the second thing I want to show is how we have built these components in a way that they feel native to React. Something that we did is we provided boilerplate code to get some of the hooks that you might want. For example, here we provided a use is signed in hook, where you can create the hook and understand when there are some changes in the login capability. So when I'm signed in, now I'm going to receive a is signed in to true. What will that deliver to my app? I will be able to get a reference to this is signed in, and I will be able to use React to protect areas of my app. I want the user to be signed in before you can showcase this component. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So when I save this now, and I save this actually, I do something bad. No, it's good. And now automatically, because I'm signed in, I can have all of these components show up. What are these components? First, there's the agenda component. All the components we have in MGT are available as React components. So don't think that there's one or the other. All of them are available. And today I want to showcase 3 of them. So the agenda, where I could also see, for example, group by day. And I can just say, this is true. And I want to do it right there, saving this. And now I have it grouped by day. So depending on your use cases, you can configure the components the exact same way you do it in HTML, but now you're doing it natively with React. The second component that I wanted to share is the file list. The file list is here. Have a really, really good file list right here where I can show more items, where I can see all of them. So this file list with all the properties that you can find is also available. This is a composition of multiple components we have, including the file list, and all of that. So it really feels natural when you're using them within React. Something that we also showed a couple of weeks ago was the use of custom components, namely the get component. That was allowing you to basically get access to any endpoints in Graph when you're thinking that, oh, I might not have all the capabilities I need with the feature set of the Graph Toolkit, but I want to still use Graph to get data, for example, from my emails, but MGT doesn't have an email component. How do I do that? Well, this is where we now have a way to have a get component with the exact same capabilities that we have on the MGT get custom element, which is our web component. So here, you just need to specify some of the resources you need. In that case, the resource, the max pages, all of them in a very React way. And we also support custom templating of every single React components and MGT components. So you've seen already in the past in some of our sessions that we could change the way it looks, or even we could change the actual HTML for sections of the components. Well, in our case, that's exactly what we're doing here. So what we're doing is we are leveraging native React components. So for example, here I have my email component that will override the template that is called value. If you go to the documentation, you're going to see that we're going to have a value template that is used for every single item of an array. So in my case, what I did, I created a very simple emails component, all built in React, where I can embed all my logic here. I can have all my different divs. I can even use other MGT components. Here I'm using the person component. Again, I can do all the really normal things that I would do with React. And when I go to the emails tab, now you're going to see that we have a great experience here because we have all of these great components showing up, all using the underlying foundation of the Graph Toolkit, which will do all the caching, all the logic, all the paging, all the batching for you. The only thing you have to care about is to build the HTML of your component. So don't stop at looking at the current feature set of MGT. You can always build your own components when you feel that this is absolutely required. So how do we do that here? We just need to provide a property here that would be an MGT template props, and automatically you will be able to identify what's happening, what's the data that's being passed to you, and you're going to be able to display that straight on the screen. So a couple of resources before we end, and I give it back to you, Vesa. Thanks for today. Our next couple of sessions will continue building on top of this. We're going to talk about Teams, Angular, SharePoint Framework. So back to you, Vesa.
Thank you, Seb. Really, really cool. Thank you, Harald. Thank you, Luca, John, Alex, Sid, and Sebastian. A lot of the cool demos today. Really, really cool stuff covered and great coverage throughout and across the Microsoft 365 from API level to SharePoint Framework with Viva and then MGT. Now, let me actually jump on the final slides. We are going to close in a matter of seconds. Just to recap, we do have multiple different community calls available. This is the weekly community call happening every single Tuesday. And then we have a few monthly community calls. And then Thursday, 7 a.m., we also have a recurrent community calls happening. You can see the full list of community calls from AKMS, M365, PMP. The recording of this video will be available within 24 hours in our Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel. You cannot access the recording directly from the Teams chat because of the access points and permission challenges. And that's exactly why we're pushing it to the YouTube as fast as possible. Follow us on Twitter. The next platform community call is happening on March 8th. And that's it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. One more time, also, thank you for all of the presenters and awesome discussion also in the chat. And hoping to see you again next week. Thanks, everybody. Let's stay in touch. Stay safe.